Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I want to talk about busing, and I'm going to be talking about this, how I tend to think about it. Not saying it's right or wrong, but it's a simplified version of how to think about it, and I think there's a lot of versions that are very complicated and have confused me in the past, so I just want to talk about that a little bit, and hopefully you get something out of it. Alright, so I'm in Logic, and I have this project pulled up, and I have this first verse, and I have this second verse bridge. I mean, really it is a second verse, it's just broke down in a different way, but anyway, they're being affected the same way, right? All these plugins are what I'm using on the main lead vocal chain, and if you go down here you can see that I'm using the exact same plugins. Now if you're new to busing, you're used to having these over here on the left side, and what you probably do is when you have a new track like this, you'll either drag it up to put it on the same track so that you don't lose space, or if you don't really even know how to do that, then you're probably just putting the same plugins. You're probably going up here, hitting the settings button, clicking copy, and then you're going down here and pasting the plugins onto this track. And I'm going to tell you why that's a problem. You're going to lose a lot of space. You're going to slow down your projects, especially if you're working on something like a Mac Air or something like that. You're going to slow down your projects. So I'm going to show you how to bus, and you're going to save a lot of space and a lot of time. So first, let's just build a vocal chain for the heck of it. So let's take this bus that's normally routed to 1 and let's route it to 20. That's going to be your first step. You're going to go down here. This is your track. So this correlates to this right here. This on the right side, ordinarily, if this was routed just to the stereo out, which is your normal output, it would route to the master or the stereo out right here. Now you can see I have a lot of plugins on here, and this is a master chain. I mean, ordinarily you wouldn't even have this there initially. So let's just pretend all these plugins aren't there. This is routing to the stereo out. It's not being routed anywhere other than what you're listening to. So the difference between this and routing to a bus is you're going to take this track and you're going to route it to, let's say, bus 20. In your case, if you have nothing filled out here, it's going to be bus 1. And what you can do is label this down here, lead vocal. And that way you actually know what it is. And normally with a lead vocal, it's going to be mono. I mean, this is kind of like, I don't want to confuse anybody too much. Some people would argue that. I think that lead vocals sound better in mono because you can also add some effects that are in stereo, but anyway, that's a whole separate issue. I just think it's more impactful to have it in mono. So we're going to keep it in mono for the lead vocal. And maybe if there were backing vocals that were panned, you'd have it in stereo. But in this situation, we're going to have this in mono. And let's just build a vocal chain for the heck of it, right? So you got your normal EQ, let's say you do what everybody does, and you know, now you have your deductive EQ. You go here, you're gonna add in your compressor. Let's say that I should have a preset for that, but I don't. Let's say you have your 3:1 ratio, thresholds there. And you would continuously build this chain to make it sound better using various plugins. I do have videos on lead vocal chains if you're curious about what plugins to use for your lead vocals. I have videos that actually break down what I'm using in this particular song that I just did, so check that video out. It'll definitely be helpful to you. But this is for the purpose of routing buses. So over here on the left side, since we have routed bus 20 over here, so this is how the vocal is being affected. Instead of you putting the plugins over here, we've now put them on this bus. And what that allows us to do is to go up here. Let's say that we knew that the hook was going to need the same effect as the bridge down here. We're going to go up here and see I already have this routed to bus 1, but we're going to route it to bus 20. Now you can see over here how that changes. That is routing it from bus 20, and then it's going to the stereo out. Whereas normally you would have this routed to the stereo out, so it's going straight to your output instead of actually having it being affected. And the powerful thing about busing is that you're able to affect multiple things without continuously adding plugins. So this is going to save you space on your computer. It's going to allow your projects to run faster. It's going to allow you to mix more efficiently instead of copy and pasting or redoing the whole vocal chain. You don't need to do that. You shouldn't do that. It makes no sense to do that. So that's really the easiest way that I can think about busing. Is over here you have your track. Down here, this is where it's being routed. Ordinarily, it's being routed to the stereo out. Now you've changed that to being routed to bus 20. Now from bus 20, it's going to the stereo out. So you have your effects on your vocal before being routed to the stereo out. That's the easiest way that I can explain busing in simple layman terms. That's really all you need to know about it. I've got by on that knowledge alone. It's actually a lot more simple than people make it out to be. I used to get very, very confused at various explanations of it when I first started. So hopefully that's helpful. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a separate video on sends, because I don't want to overcomplicate this. You don't want to take in too much information at once. When I talk about sends, all I mean is how you're affecting the vocal in terms of delay, reverb, doublers, stuff like that. So I'm going to cut this video short. Hopefully you got something out of this video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. We're doing a lot of videos like this. I do a lot of videos on how I personally, these are all my projects. I'm not mixing anybody else's music. So this is how I mix my own music, and it's subjective to you really. If you like how it sounds, then hopefully, you can implement that into your own music. Again, hopefully you got something out of this video, and until next time, peace.